Welcome to A to C Redemption's podcast titled, Thy Will Be Done. Let's face it, many of us think that the will of God for us is a giant-sized rock that He compels us to carry. That His will lead us to where we don't want to go, to people we don't want to be around. It will lead us to poverty, to sickness, that it is humiliating, burdensome, difficult, and painful to say the least. We oftentimes see His will as analogous to choosing to go to the dentist to extract perfectly good teeth without anesthesia. Who wants that? This is a clear example of the same strategy that the enemy used with Adam and Eve in the garden, to deceive and to distort the truth of who God truly is. God's will is, as we see throughout the Bible and in the life of Yeshua, the exact opposite. The one who sees the end from the beginning has the perfect plan and knows the perfect strategy of how to accomplish that plan in our life. To quote a well-known verse in Jeremiah 29:11 and 12, Adonai Saveot, God who is not a man that can lie, says, For I know the plans I have in mind for you, plans for your well-being, not for bad things, so that you can have hope and a future. And when you call to me and pray to me, I will listen to you. When you seek me, you will find me, provided you seek me wholeheartedly, and I will let you find me. This is the true plan of God for you and for me. So why insist on having my own will or my own way when I know that the will and ways and plans of God for me are guaranteed to lead to good, are infinitely better than anything I can imagine, are perfectly tailor-made, is so much more than I can think of or imagine. It will lead me in victory, and most importantly, it will glorify Himself. Now that we know the truth about His will for us on earth as it is in heaven, just as Yeshua demonstrated and is evident in Scripture, we know that His will for us are perfect, just, always good, and no matter what, and will always lead us in triumph. You may ask the question, why then am I not experiencing this even though I've asked for it? In other words, what might be blocking the flow of His will on earth as it is in heaven in my life? Before answering this question, let me clarify something. Nothing can stand against the will of God because He is all-powerful, all-knowing, and all-present. He's God and can do whatever He wants, however He wants, wherever He wants, and with whomever He wants. Nothing, and I mean absolutely nothing, can prevent God from being all supreme and all sovereign. There is no power above, below Him, or beside Him. He is in a category, a class, a realm all by Himself and shares His glory with no one. There is something, however, we also need to know, understand, and accept about this amazing God. He is not a dictator and did not create robots He controls to do His will. He wants us to want, to crave, to desire, and delight in choosing His will above all else. The operative word is choosing. He gave us, as we see in the first garden, the power of choice. And choice will always involve at least two options to choose from. Hence the two trees in the garden. It's His will or ours. in addition to choosing his will, there are prerequisites, conditions, qualifiers that must be met. In other words, we just can't waltz into the throne room of a king whenever we want to. The story of Queen Esther is a good illustration, where she went uninvited into the throne room of the king. However, she acknowledged him as her king and husband by wearing her royal robes and prepared herself with fasting and praying before doing so, knowing that she could die by presuming she could go uninvited into his presence. And this was an earthly king. To make the illustration clearer, just try going into the Oval Office uninvited and unprepared. It's the same with our almighty, holy King of Kings, God himself. Conditions must be met. Another amazing thing about this king, this heavenly king, is that he is merciful and allows grace and cannot resist us when we come clothed in the righteousness of his Son, Jesus the Messiah, which is our royal robes, and with the imprint of his Son's name and cross on our hearts. Other conditions that can hinder or block God's perfect will from flowing in and through our life includes, but are not limited to, the following 6 things that I have just jotted down. Rejection of his Son, Yeshua, Jesus as the Messiah who paid the full price for our sin and redeemed us from the penalty of sin which leads to death. Unrepented sin, that is the willful, deliberate disobedience to God's protective boundaries for our lives, as is clearly stated in Scripture. Third, our words, as life and death is in the tongue. God honors our words, therefore we must honor his. It's important to him that we agree with his words and his will. Remember, we have choices. 4, unforgiveness. 5, unbelief and distrust. 6, generational sins, curses, as the sin of the father can visit future generations. So, going back to the earlier question, why insist on having my own will or my own way when I know that the will and ways and plans of God for me are guaranteed to lead to good, infinitely better than anything I can imagine, is perfectly tailor-made, and is more than I can think of or imagine, that it will always lead me in victory, and most importantly, it will glorify himself? Why indeed? But it's your choice and mine. Thank you for listening, and blessings on your day.